Hello students, good morning ma, how are you? Hope you are safe at your home. And today we are going to discuss about uh, a topic in genetics, that is recurrent and spontaneous abortions. Okay, so this you just check your syllabus and prepare the notes by seeing these slides and your textbook. Okay, so we will discuss about the definition plus. Spontaneous and recurrent abortions occur consecutively three or more occasions. Consecutively means continuous. So the first pregnancy, second pregnancy, third pregnancy, like that consecutive pregnancies, abortions may occur. So first, what is abortion? Okay, abortion means you may be having any idea regarding this word abortions, because you may be frequently hearing in your home or neighbors or friends, like that. Okay, so abortion is after getting the pregnancy, the pregnancy may be terminated in early months. Actually, the pregnancy, that is about 9 months 7 days, isn't it? After conceiving, the mother may be may be experiencing severe painful abdomen, and the fetus may be coming out in the early months. That may be first trimester or third trimester, second trimester. Okay, so this is the definition of spontaneous and recurrent abortions, that is which occurs consecutively three or more occasions, maybe primary or secondary, if it occurs after birth of viable babies. So, instance of chromosomal abnormalities. There may be different causes for abortions. Okay, so one of the causes is chromosomal abnormalities. Because this we are discussing this topic in the genetics. We are just discussing the topic which is related to genetics. In third year, fourth year, you will be learning about these abortions in detail, and the management, nursing management, etc. But here, regarding only genetical subject, genetical information we are discussing. So, instance of chromosomal abnormalities: first trimester, that is 50 to 75%; second trimester, 15 to 30%; third trimester, 3 to 5%. What is trimester again? So trimester is nothing but 3 months. We just now I told you that pregnancy is about 9 months to 7 days. So here the pregnancy may be continued for 9 months and 7 days, and the healthy baby will be delivered. That is normal pregnancy. But this normal pregnancy, that is the period of this pregnancy, 9 months 7 days, has been divided into 3 trimesters. Tri means 3. So first 3 months is called first trimester, next 3 months is called second trimester, next 3 months is called third trimester. So hope you is clear for you. What are the causes of miscarriage? Again, what is miscarriage? Miscarriage is the other common word used for abortions. Okay, that is not a different word, the same synonym word used for abortions. So what are the maternal causes? Immunological, in immunological there will be alloimmune response, that is failure of a normal immune response in the mother to accept the fetus for a duration of a normal pregnancy. So just now I told about the normal pregnancy, that is 9 months and 7 days, but the mother's womb or uterus may not be accepting the fetus to stay in the womb for a duration of normal pregnancy. Okay, so that is total 9 months. There may be immunological, because the immune system is not responding, and the fetus will be coming out in an early period, early dates. Okay, then autoimmune diseases. So in most of the time, especially in medical surgical nursing, we discussed about autoimmune diseases. Of course, in majority of the subjects also, the autoimmune disease has been autoimmune system, that is discussed by many teachers. So you know that. So what is autoimmune disease? That is phospholipid antibodies, especially lupus anticoagulant, that is LA, and the anti-cardiolipin antibodies, that is ACL. They will cause the fetus to come out in early periods. Then uterine abnormalities. What are uterine abnormalities? Congenital, that is separating the separate uterus, recurrent abortions, that is the structure may be different. Then cervical incompetence, that may be congenital or acquired in the sense because of some infections or some other pathological changes, cervical incompetence may occur. The cervical incompetence is the cervix will be opening. So actually, in an unmarried girl or the girls who are not gone for any deliveries, they have very healthy cervix. That is just the మన గుండు పిన్ ఉంటుంది కదా, ball pins, that may be just it is difficult to enter that ball pin. But here cervical incompetence means the cervix open will be very big. That is actually during the labor process, by the end of first stage of delivery, the cervix opens completely. But here the cervix is not very tight. అది నార్మల్గా ఉండాల్సిన రకంగా క్లోజ్డ్గా ఉండకుండా కొంచెం ఓపెన్లో ఉంటుంది. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ సర్వైకల్ ఇన్కాంపిటెన్స్. దట్ ఈస్ then that is congenital or acquired, and second trimester abortions. Then fibroids. You know what is fibroid? That is, there are so many different types of fibroids are there in our books. So here fibroids, usually these fibroids may grow in the uterus. So the healthy uterus will permit the fetus to grow in the uterus, but these fibroids, they will cause the circulatory interruptions. So here we are going to discuss disruption of implantation and development of fetal blood supply. That is naturally when the fetus when there is when there is sufficient space in the uterus, then the fetus will grow healthy, isn't it? So here this fibers will be obstructing the fetus implantation and growth of the fetus, as well as fetal blood supply. Then rapid growth and degeneration with the release of cytokines. So naturally there will be release of cytokines, that will cause interruption. Occupation of space for the fetus to grow. So naturally when this fibroid is a extra mass which grows in the uterus, so naturally the fetus will have very less space to grow, because already the fibroid is present in the uterus, it is not empty. Then endocrine, poorly controlled diabetes, that may be type 1 or type 2, hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. So all these diseases were discussed in pathology, then also in medical surgical nursing. Okay, so naturally poorly controlled diabetes, that is if the diabetes is there, then that has to be controlled with regular treatments and checkups. If it is not controlled, then that causes abortions. Then hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Then luteal phase deficiency, decreased level of progesterone which secreted by corpus luteum in the endometrium is poorly or improperly hormonally prepared for implantation and is therefore inhospitability for implantation. Okay, so you know the endometrium, the layers of uterus, isn't it? So when the hormones are secreted in irregular normal levels, then only the endometrium will permit to permit for the implantation of fetus. So here when there is an imbalance luteal phase deficiency అన్నారు కదా. So when there is deficiency of these hormones, naturally the implantation will be very difficult. Implantation of fetus. Then infections. So naturally the maternal or fetal infections. Sometimes the mother may be having infections, or sometimes the fetus itself. The fetus is in the womb. You know what is fetus? So the baby that is present in the womb for 9 months within the womb is called fetus. When the baby comes out from the womb, then the fetus is called newborn. So in the womb is fetus, and after delivery that is normal baby. Okay. So here what the infections, that is maternal and fetal, isn't it? As torch infections, then ureaplasma, ureolyticum, then listeria. All these are the causes for abortions. So you know what is torch infections? That is a syndrome, and usually the diseases that comes under this torch in syndrome are hepatosplenomegaly. Okay, that is enlargement of liver, then anemia, then petechia, purpura, jaundice, and cholelithiasis. All these are the signs and symptoms of this torch syndrome. Okay. Then environmental toxins, alcohol, smoking, drug abuse, ionizing radiation, etc. So genetic abnormalities, there are 4 types of genetic abnormalities, that is numerical, structural, point mutations, and polygenic. So then parental genetic abnormalities, they are balanced translocations, they are most common, and then sex chromosome mosaicism, then chromosome inversions, and others, that is 4 to 8%. Then parental genetical abnormalities, that is carrier couples, miscarriage rate was higher and live birth rates was lower. Then cumulative live birth rate was about 64%. Ongoing pregnancies with unbalanced translocations are, however, very rare, that is less than 1%. Then more pregnancy losses in carriers of reciprocal translocations and inversions. Then coming to chromosomal abnormalities among abortions. So here numerical, that is about 8 to 90%, then structural, and then mosaicism. So here they have given monosomy X about 90%, then autosomal trisomy is about 5%, and polyploid is 5%. Then chromosomal mutations. So you know, when the chromosomal mutations is very common in male and female. During these chromosomal mutations, and when the sperm is attached to the that is attached to this ovum, then mutation will be occurring, isn't it? So there will be abnormalities there, that is extra gene will be, abnormal mutations will be there. So during duplication the abnormalities will be occurring. So majority of chromosome abnormalities in spontaneous miscarriages are de novo, then random errors, that is random errors are during gametogenesis and embryogenic development. So here errors of meiosis and mitosis, again that is division, meiosis division, mitosis division. So during that stage the errors may occur. Then undiagnosed genetic abnormalities not be detected by standard cytogenetic techniques, and isolated gonadal germination mosaicism, and then single gene defects. Then parental gonadal mosaicism, that is only germ cells are affected, then risk of transmission from mother or from father, when so only one germ cell is affected. Okay, so this is about genetics, problems of genetics in recurrent abortions. Okay, so we will conclude this topic. Conclusion: pregnancy loss is very frequent phenomenon. At least 30% of pregnancy is recognized on the basis of human chronic gonadotrophin assays are lost. Often prior to clinical recognition of pregnancy, genetic factors are responsible for most losses in clinically recognized pregnancies and probably also for most losses before clinical recognition. In this chapter, we consider the first frequency and the timing of pregnancy loss and then enumerate known genetic causes, specific considerations of the role of non-genetic factors in pregnancy loss. So, hope you understand well about this topic. Okay, ma. Thank you. Good day. And we are going to continue about neural tube defects. So what is neural tube defects? So just we will take little introduction about this. Okay, the human nervous system originates from primitive ectoderm and also develops into epidermis. The ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm form the three primary germ layers that are developed by the third week. Okay, ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. These three form and they developed by third week of the pregnancy. The endoderm, particularly the notochordal plate, you just remember that, and the intraembryonic mesoderm induces the overlying ectoderm to develop the neural plate in the third week of development. So this neural plate is very important to prevent neural tube defects. So that has to be completely developed. Usually third week of development that will be completed. Failure of normal induction is responsible for most of the NTDs. In that NTDs is neural tube defects as well as disorders of prosencephalic development. So neural tube defects accounts for the largest proportion of congenital anomalies of the CNS and results from failure of neural tube to close spontaneously between third and fourth week of in utero development. Okay. So here the neural tube failure of neural tube to close spontaneously because of so many reasons which we are going to discuss. So third week or fourth week of pregnancy in utero development, although the precise cause of entities remains unknown. So neural tube defects can occur anywhere along the spinal cord, that may be lumbar region or sacral region or thoracic region. So sometimes cervical region also, due to defective embryological development or genetic abnormalities. So what is etiology? Very sorry ma, in few slides the headings have gone a little bit up. You try to understand the etiology. Tetrogens, most strongly tied, and then folate deficiency, that is folic acid deficiency. Then women taking folic acid, risk of 2%, who are not taking risk are at the rate of 2%. So etiology, in 1970s, Smith-Hales noted erythrocytes, folate and yellow amino acid in WBC in first trimester pregnancies with NTDs. This work led to two important randomized studies on the use of pre-conception folate, that is before conception itself the folate will be given to the mother by British and Hungarians. So the mothers who have taken folic acid before conception, they doesn't have any incidence of NTDs, that is neural tube defects. So there is very low quantities of folate and amino acids in WBC leads to neural tube defects. British study was terminated early due to the protection noted in the folic acid group. So multivitamins has no protective effect. Preconception folic acid prevented 72% of recurrent neural tube defects. Okay, so when we give folic acid before conception, then entities will be prevented at 72%. That is, out of 172 mothers doesn't have their child doesn't deliver the child with neural tube defects. Okay, Hungarian study results were the same. The study was conducted in more than 2000 cases. Injection of preconception, that is the preconception of folic acid, is not easy. It's not easy in the sense that we have to plan for it. So folic acid is not protected unless ingested in preconception period. Entities occurs 26 days post fertilization, when many women do not know they are pregnant. The precise mechanism of folic acid protection is unclear, but that will be given continuously to the mothers. So we don't want to take the chance. Perception of folate deficiency. So normal folate, when the mother is given normal folate, when the intake is there, the cell during this cell division, the cells will be divided normally, and the normal cell growth will be there when the mother is given folate. The down one shows the mother without folate. So the division is not healthy, and naturally that leads to unhealthy cells. Then importance of timing in getting folic acid. So importance means in late pregnancies, when we give folic acid, it doesn't give any meaning, isn't it? So naturally the third and fourth week of the pregnancy, this neural tube will be completed. The neural tube formation will be completed. So neural plate, we discussed about it. So that is why we have to give preconception. From when we start the folic acid intake preconceptionally, that gives the result of preventing neural tube defects. Then 50% of US pregnancies are unplanned. Folic acid is needed before conception, and entities occur very early in the pregnancies, because the third and fourth week of pregnancy, the neural tube plate completes, growth will be completed. Classification. So entities are classified as open and closed. So here the open is often involve the entire CNS with the neural tissue is exposed. Entire neural tissue is exposed. CNS is central nervous system. And then CSF leaking. CSF is cerebrospinal fluid. Leaking will be occurred. So when cerebrospinal fluid leaking occurs, then that is going to be a big complication. Then closed. Localized to the spine, brain rarely affected, neural tissue not exposed, although the skin covering the defect may be dysplastic. So closed is not so harmful, so complicated. Open is very complicated. So cranial entities. What are the different diseases? That is anencephaly, and anencephaly is absence of brain. Are rudimentary. The brain will be very rudimentary. Then encephalocele. Again, encephalocele is two types: meningocele and meningomyelocele. Sometimes that may be called as myelomeningocele. Both are equal. Then congenital dermal sinus. Spinal neural tube defects. So spina bifida cystica, spina bifida occulta, meningoceles, then congenital dermal sinus, then caudal agencies. Here the picture shows anencephaly. So what is anencephaly? There is absence of cranial vault. So vault is this upper one. With cerebral hemispheres completely absent or greatly reduced in size. So first shows complete absent, and the second one shows greatly reduced, very rudimentary. Then this anencephaly is continued, and anencephaly infant presents a distinctive appearance with a large defect of the calvarium meninges and scalp associated with a rudimentary brain, which results from failure of closure of rostral neuropore, the opening of the anterior neural tube. The cerebral hemispheres and cerebellum are usually absent, and only a residue of brain stem can be identified. Then there will be additional anomalies. Then encephalocele. Two major forms of we are going to watch these pictures also. Two major forms of dystrophism affect the skull, resulting in protrusion of tissue through a bony midline defect called cranium bifida. Okay, so cranium bifida ante adi oka bony midline defect nunchi protrusion vastundhi anamata. That is, tissue of brain tissue will be, or spinal tissue will be protruding through bony defect. Okay, that is called cranium bifida. A cranial meningocele consists of CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid, filled meningeal sac only, and a cranial encephalocele contains the sac plus cerebral cortex plus cerebellum or other portions of brainstem. So here sac will be there, CSF will be there, cerebral cortex will be there, cerebellum will be there, sometimes brainstem tissues will be there. Infants with a cranial encephalocele are at increased risk for developing hydrocephalus. You know what is hydrocephalus? There is the head will be the head size will be very large because of a collection of excessive secretion of cerebrospinal fluid, that is hydrocephalus. Because of here they have given the reasons also. Aqueductal stenosis or Kyrie malformations or Dandy-Walker syndrome. They are the diseases causes. Then examination might show a small sac with a pedunculated stalk or a large cyst-like structure that can exceed the size of cranium. The lesion may be completely covered with skin, but areas of denuded lesions can occur and they require urgent surgical management. In that cases, the emergency surgery has to be done. So here, see. So inside there may be cerebellum, CSF, and the stem tissues also. Then spina bifida. This is one of the most serious vertebral defect, spina bifida. So this is completely related to the vertebral tissue defect, serious vertebral defect, that is the result of imperfect fusion or non-union of vertebral arches. So when the vertebral arches is closed, then that form a vertebra, isn't it? So when they are open throughout the vertebral column, then the total vertebral column will be open. Such an abnormality as cleft vertebral, that is spina bifida. Spina bifida occulta, this involves only the bony vertebral arches, leaving the spinal cord intact. So spinal cord will be intact, that is not open, only the vertebral arches will be opened. The bony defect covered by a skin and no neurological deficit. Spina bifida cystica, mere severe abnormality in which the neural tube fails to close. So when the neural tube fails to close, then the baby will have all neurological defects. So vertebral arches will be failed to form and the neural tissue is exposed. Then any neurological deficit depends on the level and the extent of lesion. So here that is spina bifida. One is at lumbar region and one is at lumbosacral region. Meningocele. So meningocele is formed when the meninges herniate through a defect in the posterior vertebral arches or the anterior sacrum. A spinal cord is usually normal and assumes a normal position in the spinal canal, although there may be tethering of the cord, then syringomyelia or diastomatomyelias. Then a fluctuant midline mass that might transilluminate occurs along the vertebral column and usually in the lower back. Most meningoceles are well covered with skin and pose no immediate threat to the patient. Careful neurological examination is mandatory. So these meningoceles which are covered with the skin, they can be observed and they can be examined, and when the child is well fit for the surgery, then they can go for the surgery. This is not much dangerous. So here the meningocele, the skin is covered and the CSF is not escaped. Myelomeningocele or meningomyeloceles. So these myelomeningocele represent the most severe form of dystrophism, a so-called aperta or open form involving the vertebral column and spinal cord. Incidence is approximately 1 in 4,000 live births. 1 in 4,000 live births. So how the anatomy of this myelomeningocele has been exposed. Right. The presence of unfused or excessively separated vertebral arch of the bony spine, that is spina bifida. The other one is cystic dilation of meninges that surround the spinal cord, that is meningocele. Then cystic dilation of spinal cord itself, that is myelocele. Then hydrocephalus and spectrum of congenital vertebral abnormalities. See, look what you can find this difference, isn't it? Here the spinal cord is also exposed. Arches are open. This can be prevented. Okay. So how it can be prevented? That is genetic counseling. Then therapeutic abortions if detected during early pregnancies, that is purposefully by taking some treatment or sometimes a therapeutic purposefully the doctor may be performed abortions, that is they are called therapeutic abortions. Incidence can be reduced if folic acid supplementation is taken, that is 1 gram folic acid, but this has to be started very early. It's better to start when before conception, then after conception also that can be continued. If the folic acid intake has been started very late in the late pregnancies, that is second trimester or third trimester, the purpose may not be served. Okay, ma, that is the end of this neural tube defects. So here 2 topics were covered: abortions and recurrent abortions, and then neural tube defects. Okay, ma, thank you.